Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Andrew Gehring. I was the narrator for the English version of the podcast just now.
Hello, my name is Shuhui Yao, and I'm the Chinese narrator for our podcast.
And I'm Josue Vera. I'm the producer of this podcast.
And welcome, many, many welcomes to all of you fine and noble people to our first discussion of episode 1 of our podcast, Shrouded Stories Beyond the Great Wall. We made it, you guys. We're in this lovely little room and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For episode 1, Pangu opens the world.
Yes, Pangu 开天辟地.
Yes. So
let's give a little bit of a disclaimer just to start things off.
Yeah.
We are by no means professionals in this topic, nor experts. We're just three fans interested in the topic, finding it out, and sharing what we find out with you guys.
So. Yes, enthusiasts. Yeah. Learning in real time with you guys. These questions we'll be asking. And I should say that I will be loosely moderating just because I know so little and I have so many questions to ask. But all these questions are all essentially ones I'll be asking in real time with you. Yes, you. Yes.
If I make any mistake, it's not intentional. If you have corrections or other questions you want to follow up, we have an email address. It's contact@shroudedstories.com.
Yes. Great. Shall we begin with the questions proper then?
Yeah.
Okay. So we begin with our podcast with a creation myth. So fitting, we'll begin at the beginning. So, Shuhui, these stories we're looking at, you have based them off of a source text that we're translating from.
Yes.
We're used to, I guess, in the Western world creation myths that are pretty stinking old. How might I ask? How long have these stories been kicking around?
I'd say orally, it's been more than 5,000 years. But this text that is for the first one that I grabbed it from a book roughly around 2,000 years ago. But it's the original version is already lost. But there's a recorded version of that book later in the period that still exists. So the entire story would be 5,000 years ago, and this is not doing well for me. Sorry.
This is perfect. No.
Yeah. So that happens a lot with mythologies in general, right? It starts a very oral tradition, and at some point, someone decides to just get the best bits and write them down, and then go on from that. So, this story we chose, it was chosen. It wasn't the story that everyone had at that point. Everyone had different creation myths.
Yeah, because in Chinese mythology, we don't have a straight line to follow. So this happened, and that follows that, and that follows that. Instead, we have lots of documents, recording scattered stories. So a lot of historians are trying to make a line out of it, but it's pretty hard. Just for the opening, how the world's open, that kind of story, we have multiple versions of it. The one that I'm choosing is just the most commonly taught by my generation.
Sure, there's not a mythological monolith.
No.
Got it. It's fun to say. But yes, it makes sense for such a big country with so many different cultural pockets and so forth. Not that I know anything whatsoever, but it makes good sense. Yeah. Shades and different variations of things. There are concepts that we as Westerners we said are. We assume we kind of get it, but we don't actually get it oftentimes. If you don't mind, we can run through a few of the sort of basic fundamental concepts in the story just to make sure I'm selfishly, I'm on the same page. Okay. Yangqi and Yinqi. I guess that, for those of us who've consumed media that has some, Eastern inspiration, we've heard these terms peripherally, and we kind of have an idea of them, but I have a feeling that some of this is mistaken. If you could help us.
I don't know if it's mistaken, but because you probably all seen the circle thing, and because it's black and white, it's kind of misleading thinking that one is good and one is evil. But instead of that, we're more leaning towards like those are two opposing forces, but there's no like characteristics of good and evil.
No
Like,
morality to it.
not that. We do usually associate like yang qi with worms, masculine, like sun, and yin qi more like dense, and then darker in color, and then female figures. But we wouldn't say everything yin qi is like evil and everything yang qi is good.
Okay.
That's nice. No. Truly, I like the idea that it's not a moral binary that's being attacked. It's more of a, I don't know, an energy / elemental thing. I'm using words I don't really.
No, that makes sense. Elemental. It's like a foundation of the world, but it doesn't actually have certain meanings or leading to something.
Yeah, because like when Pangu split the world in half, like the egg. Like it was basically a separation of energy.
Yeah.
Like the Yangshi like rose to the skies and like Yinshi descended to the earth. So like, but we're still like talking about balance, I guess, right?
Yeah, because at the beginning, like where the chaos was, it could be easily understood. Like for Westerners, chaos might be like born with monsters and like evil stuff. But I think in this case, we're just talking about a mixture of both energies, like the yin qi and yang qi. And then the separation of those starts the world.
Right. Yes, I have questions about this too. I kind of listen. I'm going to jump ahead to another question I had because that's what we're talking about. Because the idea of the very, very beginning of everything. I mean, we talked about this among ourselves a little bit earlier. That there is. A lot of us are familiar with creation myths in the West that have an idea of first there was nothing, then there was something. And there are exceptions to this, but this is very particularly phrased as first there was chaos, and then there was order brought to it. So I guess my question is like, what does that mean? Like, what is the chaos here? Is it Is it purely abstract and conceptual, or is it just a sort of literal like potluck of the elements?
Because it's not the only story. Like Greek mythology starts with chaos as well, for example. Yeah. So there's definitely a parallel there, but I guess like the whole like what is this chaos and how can we define it in this context?
So I feel like it's more like a pot of elements, like you said.
Oh, I love a good pot.
But also, it's in a contained space, meaning, well, this is a personal guess, so might be wrong, but I think it's a good start, and I feel like there's something outside of it. So there's above forces than what's just in there. We might be talking about those in later episodes as well.
No, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. I'm sorry. We do want to.
No, you're fine. Right. Yeah, but the egg itself and the chaos itself, my understanding would be like a mixture of the both forces. And because it's all mixed up together, you can't separate them. You can't make life out of them. But when they're separate and balanced, then the world starts.
Oh, that's nice. I do like that idea. I mean, especially, because we're talking a little bit about the things that are existing in the beginning. I guess the exception to the chaos element that is here is the egg, the giant, and the axe.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too literal about all of this because clearly we're swimming in the world of metaphor and so forth. But the significance of this being there is I mean. One doesn't want to, be too infinite regression and say, well, where did this come from, or where did that come from? Because we start to miss the point of the storytelling. But because there's a specificity in, there's an egg and there's an axe in the egg, is there an axe significance that we're missing culturally?
The tool itself, not sure. Okay. Because I couldn't find it anywhere specifying why specifically the axe. But I feel like that tool being there was a symbol of like the giant Pangu was giving the tool to open up the world that he wants to see.
I have questions about this. So finish your thought.
What was my thought?
So he's given the tools to open up the world and like see the world.
Yeah, because he wanted to accomplish something. Like with this axe, he could accomplish himself.
So there is. Sorry, go ahead. There is a story of agency.
Yeah, agency. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Deus Ex Machina here. There's no intervention that allows Pangu to do this, except for the fact that there's this axe lying around. It's almost like a hint. Yeah, it's nice. It's good to have agency. I've heard.
That also kind of flows in a lot of our mythologies and like historical stories. That a lot of the storylines are based on the agency of the protagonist.
Oh, that's empowering. That's nice.
It is very empowering. Yeah, because like there is an attitude of like you have an option to like do something and you have the tools to do it, so you do it.
Yeah.
Which I think is very like for a foundation myth of like the creation of the world to have that kind of like connotation inside of it. I think that's very powerful, like to the culture itself. I don't know. I'm not part of culture.
Yeah, of course. But our questions about sort of the nuts and bolts mechanics of how this happened, as far as the plot points of this creation story, our questions are not over. As far as just the making of the world and so forth, we have this chain of events that can be a little bit, not head scratching exactly, but it can make you do a double take because Pangu wants to see the world.
That's the world. That's
and then he opens the egg and which releases the world. And then when he dies, he himself becomes the world. Yeah. So are we to understand that before Pangu's body became mountains and rivers and so forth, that the earth was more sort of in a barren state? Or does world mean something besides the literal planet Earth? Is it more like a universe kind of thing?
Could be. It's more like what is this space I'm in? I wonder. And then he becomes a world. This is like specifically for the world that we are seeing now.
Yeah. So I guess there is a little bit of a connotation of like, if he becomes the world after he goes out to see it and et cetera, and after like he separates the energies and all that, even if there was something before that, that's kind of like talking about like if something was there before the Big Bang, like we would have no way at this current moment of knowing. But it's really interesting to have that kind of like feeling of wanting to see something that doesn't quite yet exist, or does it?
He doesn't technically know the world doesn't exist until after he opens up like, oh, there's nothing, and I want to do something.
Yeah.
I guess that comes back to the whole agency thing.
Yeah, there's something so beautiful about a creation being motivated by an act of curiosity. I mean, it's as opposed to. I don't know, a decree, so forth. I mean, decrees can be noble and beautiful too, but it's so. Like, if we were like in a creative writing class, we'd see, oh, these characters have so much agency. This is great.
Well, I guess in a way they're so human.
Yeah. It's that kind of style of deity creature, as opposed to no one's pretended to be omnipotent here.
No. You see a lot of effort deities and Chinese mysteries.
Yeah, we'll get to more. More of those. Stay tuned. My God. As far as a couple other concepts, meridians. So it's a fun word to say, but it was also a word I had to sort of look up, and even so, I'm still a little bit iffy on first of all the very concept of it, and also how it applies to the creation of roads when yes. Can you talk to us about the translation of that word and what to help us?
Yeah, of course. I was actually very surprised to find there's a direct translation for that word because it's a very concept from the Chinese medicine. So I was having trouble to see if there's like a very concise translation for that. But in this case, I can explain like how it works. It's like a blood vessel, but instead of carrying the blood, it's carrying the energy that's channeling throughout our body.
And energy, kind of like going back to the yang qi and yin qi.
Yeah, but like in that case more combined than separate.
Gotcha.
But there are books, novels, mythologies talking about you can only carry one type of them, and it can be elemental, it can be like nature, some kind of that.
And is it like a physical thing?
It's an interesting question. Because me personally, I have never seen that or touched it, but my mom, she actually practiced medication and claimed that she can see some of them inside of her.
Okay.
But like when she was doing that in the morning, sometimes I'll see her burp, and I'm guessing that's like tangible in some sort of way.
Okay. So there is a little bit of like a physical effect.
Yeah.
And I guess if they did become roads, at least they were perceived as something physical.
Yes, it makes sense. It's all coming together. No, yeah. I mean, as far as I confessed this to you guys earlier. I'll say it again. That probably my closest frame of reference for this sort of thing are certain episodes of a certain Avatar: The Last Airbender, in which we have these concepts of energy pathways in the body that can be either manipulated one way or another, or the imbalance of which will create havoc in you in some way.
So if I remember correctly, that was like more chakra based rather than meridians.
Oh, thank you for correcting. No, this is
but
good.
There is a little bit of an I guess it could be an overlap because like there's a lot of like they're neighbors, so I guess there could be an overlap. But it's the whole concept of like there being something energy wise that's inside of you and flowing.
Yeah.
So.
Oof, flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, God, it's a concept that I don't want to be too broad about any of this, and hopefully haven't been so far. But we are. How to say with? Oh yes.
I do have one question.
Please.
18,000 years.
Oh, thank you. But you missed.
I just remember that. Like, why such a specific number for the time that passed?
Because we believe 9 is the biggest number, at least single-digit numbers. So, and anything that's related to like huge, big, and royalty, they want to have their numbers have something to do with 9s, or at least a multiplication of 9s.
Gotcha.
And there was a saying that the Forbidden City, they have 9,999.5 rooms.
What?
0.5.
Wait, do we know about the 0.5? Where did that come from?
It's like just a little closet on the side.
Bigger than the 9999. So like,
I see.
Okay.
But actually, it's a little bit less. We don't know if it started with that many rooms, but right now it's sitting around 8,700 something.
So
don't count yourself.
I promise you I won't.
Right. These things can be powerful in concept and metaphor, perhaps more than literal. But I mean, the world of sort of numerology and numbers and stuff, like lucky numbers, unlucky numbers. I mean,
like the number 3 and number 7 are very present in the Western culture.
Yes, I've always been big on 3.
Yeah.
I was born on January 3rd.
Oh, really?
The third day of the year. So I've always been a 3 person. Any lucky numbers, you guys?
Nope.
No? Got it. No. But as you say, 3 is not just particular to me. It's like, it's so many
so many you got the Trinity, you got the whole like Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. You got
tripod. Tripod.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like different places that just use numbers as a way of significance, and I think that's just like a very human thing to do.
Yeah. You said 9 as the biggest single-digit number.
Yeah, it holds true in Arabic numbers as well.
I was about to ask. That sounds because I don't know anything about Chinese writing systems. That sounds like an interesting coincidence that it just happens to be like before we moved to 2 decimal places and or we moved from 9 to 10.
Okay, that is beyond my knowledge.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I
think it's a 10-based system.
Got it. Oh, I see. That makes it weirdly conveniently accessible for us, which is nice. Yeah. I do enjoy numbers.
So, Yeah, I think we're at the end of.
Are we
this
at the end
discussion
already?
episode.
My God, it feels like we've gone faster than we meant to.
Yeah, it's just the first
true.
episode nervousness.
Yes,
all
and it's
that.
possible. Yes, for assuming that this bit makes it into the episode, definitely a little bit of nerves coming up. But I don't. I think that still must have been what 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, we decided not to record a particular sign off for every episode, but for this one, maybe we'll just say thanks for tuning in for our inaugural. Our very first little discussion for these myths that we're going to be diving into.
Yeah.
And we'll see you
We'll see you next time.
for the next one. Translation by Shuhui Yao. English adaptation by Andrew Guerin. Music by Solomon Locke. Sound effects by Shuhui Yao and Josue Vera. Art by Ursula Young. Produced by Shuhui Yao and Josue Vera.